Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. So today we are going to be reviewing the Mount Cosmetics Gemini 2 palette. I mentioned this in my purchase or pass that I wanted to pick it up because I've always wanted to try Mount Cosmetics, and you guys in the comments really convinced me, and they were having a sale, so I was like, okay, why not? And I got it, and we have it here. I did 3 looks. I got to play with the formula because it is my first time trying anything from Mount Cosmetics, and I thought, why not get the Gemini 2? I am a Gemini myself, you know, Gemini season is coming soon, so I thought, why not? It seemed like the perfect palette for me. Rosy tones, roses, Gemini. What more could I ask for? And I also actually want to compare it to my Red Dragon palette because after purchasing it, I was like, this kind of looks like Red Dragon a little bit. Like, you can create some similar looks with both palettes, so we're going to compare. But with that being said, if you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts on the Gemini 2 from Mount Cosmetics, then please continue watching. Alright, so here we have the beautiful Gemini 2 palette. This is what the outer packaging looks like. It is absolutely stunning. I love the roses, and I feel like the outer packaging really tells you what the color story is going to be like inside. Very dark, sultry, sexy, smoky. So this is the box. It's just in a black box with the Gemini 2. If you were curious, comes like this. But this palette is $58 US. I did get it for 20% off, so I'm not too sure if Mount Cosmetics has these sales quite frequently because I am new to the brand, but I did get it for 20% off, so I would recommend maybe just waiting for a sale. But there's also a deal where you can buy the Gemini 1 and Gemini 2 palette together for $100, so you do save a bit of money there. And then for all my international shoppers, it is $15 USD for shipping. But when you open up the palette, we do have a mirror inside, and then we have the 10 beautiful shadows. We got some peachy or rosy tones, and then at the end we have some mossy greens. There are 8 mattes and 2 shimmers, so this palette really does lean towards the matte side, which you guys know I love. You guys know I'm a matte girl. And I guess just hopping right into my thoughts on the palette, although I do love mattes, you guys know how much I love mattes. I talk about mattes all the time. Like, my own palette had 8 matte, 4 shimmers. Like, I feel like it's a similar ratio, but the thing with this palette, I would have loved if they still had 8 mattes, 2 shimmers. I don't mind that ratio, but I wish one of the shimmers would have at least been a lighter shimmer, because I feel like with my makeup style, just having a light shimmer can really change everything pretty much, because the 2 shimmers in here are very dark, so it would have been nice if they just kept one, and then another one would have been like a nice light rose gold. You guys know how I feel about rose gold. So that's one thing that I didn't really like about the palette, just like color story wise. But what I really do love about the color story is that even from far away, looking in my like tiny viewfinder, I can see the gradual build-up of depth in these like rosy peachy tones, and I love that because I think when you have such a good like light, medium to dark, you can get beautiful looks out of that. You can do a variety of looks with that as well, but it also makes blending a little bit easier because you already have that soft gradation within the shadows, if that makes sense. So I love how there's like a good like slow build up to the very dark shadows. Like, I absolutely love that, and I think the tones are really beautiful. You guys know how much I love rosy tones, and these rosy tones are stunning as well. I mean, the imprint on the shadows are really pretty. But then to speak on the formula, I definitely think the mattes are the star of the show. I don't really think the shimmers, not that they are bad, but they just don't really stand out. The metallics are very like almost satin-like, or they have a lot of like little micro shimmers. They're very, very soft kind of metallics. They're nothing intense. They're nothing like packed with little glitters. They're just very mediocre, you could say. Like, I mean, I don't mind them. Like, I really don't mind them. I think it does complement the palette well, but I will say definitely the star of the show and the star of the formula is at the mattes. The mattes blend out so beautifully. There's not much kickback in the pans as well. There's just a little bit, but the shadows, I feel like when you apply it on your eyes, it just slowly blends out on its own. Like, it's very quick. All the looks I did are very short and very simple, but it also didn't take long as well because it just blended out like a dream. They're very, very easy to blend out. I think if anything, the only shadow I had an issue with was the shade here called Almond Eyes, which is the olive. I just felt like it was a little bit patchy, but that could be a user error. It could be on me, not on the shadow, but nonetheless, I think the overall look it looks fine. But like I mentioned in the intro, that I did want to compare it to my Red Dragon palette. Now, I don't think it's exactly a dupe, but the color story is kind of the same, where it has the greens and then the peach and then some rosy tones here. So I think you can get a similar look. I think the Gemini palette will give you something a little bit more grungy and dark, whereas Red Dragon will give you something a little bit more bright, maybe spring. This is like the spring sister, this is like the dark winter autumn sister. So I do think there is a very, very soft similarity, but it's not a dupe. But I thought I would just compare because I don't think there are many palettes that have this kind of color story, the rosy tones and green tones. I personally have not seen it. I don't usually give a product a rating in my reviews, but just to give you an idea, since this is the first time you guys are seeing Melt Cosmetics on my channel, if I had to give the Gemini 2 palette a rating out of 10, I would give it a 7.5. And the reason why it's not like a 10 out of 10 is because it's not a palette that I'm going to use daily, and that does come down to personal preference and makeup styles. So it's not a palette that I would personally use all the time because it does go quite dark, but I think the formula is great. I just wish there was a lighter shimmer. I think if there was a lighter shimmer, I probably would use this palette way, way more. It's just missing that for me. All the looks I created are very, very matte, and although I love mattes, I do just need like a pop of shimmer. Just one shimmer, just one light shimmer. That's all I need. And I think with that being said, the metallics in here, the shimmers, they are very mediocre, especially for what you're paying. So it's hard to answer the question if it's worth $58 for 10 shadows, but I do think the quality is there. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into my 3 looks. Alright, so for the first look, I'm going to hop into the shade Ladylike. This is going to be our base color, the transition shadow. So I'm just going to sweep that all over my lids, blending that up towards my crease, towards my brow bone, also towards the outer corners as well. Again, it's the base color, so we're just going to see this all over the eyes. It's a really pretty muted dusty rose shade, which is so up my alley. I love these type of shades for my transition. So I'm also going to sweep that all over my lower lash line as well. Next, going into the shade Sweetheart, I'm going to focus this at the outer corners of my eyes, just stamping on the pigment there and then slowly blending that out towards the outer edges and a little bit into my crease as well. We can be a little bit more blown out with this shadow because it is just a mid-tone shade and we want to gradually build up that deeper outer corner. And then I'm also going to take that onto my lower lash line as well, but I'm mainly focusing that at the outer corners. Now going into the shade Lovesick, again focusing that at the outer corners as well. As you can see here, we are gradually going deeper with the shadows, so that way we will have more of a seamless smoky eye look, and overall it will just be much easier to blend out. So I'm just focusing that mainly at the outer corners here, and then also again onto the lower lash line. And then I'm going into the shade LX Queen, and I'm taking this on a dome-shaped pencil brush, and you might guess I'm gonna focus this at the outer corners as well. I'm gonna focus this more along the lash line because that's where I want it to be the most dark. It's also gonna help blend in the lashes to create a very, very sultry look. So just smudging that all over my lash line, and then I'm also gonna take that onto my lower lash line as well. But then to complete this look, I'm taking the creme gel liner from Colourpop in the shade of Venus, which is a bright red. I'm gonna use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline. So here we have the first look completed. I wanted to stick to more of the red and rose tones from the palette to create this very, very smoky and sultry look. It is an all matte look, which I do love, and I love that pop of red in our waterline to match with our lip color and our blush. So I love how this look turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So now hopping into the second look, I'm starting off with the shades Bella and Ladylike. I'm just taking a mixture of these two for the base of our look. So I'm just going to sweep that all over my lid up to my crease towards the outer corners. I also take this onto my lower lash line as well. Because it's the base of the look, I do want this to look very diffused and very soft. And as you can probably tell, this look is a K-pop inspired look. I was inspired by Minnie from (G)I-DLE in their Tomboy music video, so that's why maybe the styling is a little bit different from what I usually do. But next I'm going to use the shade Lovesick to start creating a soft smoky wing. So I actually like to take it on my lower lash line first and then align it up to my wing, because I want this liner to be a little bit more straight and not so upturned, because this again is an inspired look. I wanted to sort of mimic Minnie's eye shape, and she has more of like a straighter eye shape rather than it being very curved and angled, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm really doing here. I'm just making my wing a little bit more straighter than usual, but I pretty much take this onto the lash line on the top and bottom. This is going to be a very smoky type of look. I will take the shade Gemillas and I'm going to use that to just softly smoke out Lovesick, so that way we have more of a diffused smoky wing. And then taking the shade Alex Queen, I'm just going to define the upper wing a little bit more, keeping this really close to the lash line. It's just going to define the liner a little bit more, make the look a little bit more smoky, which I like. And then I almost forgot, but I'm taking the shade Smooth and I'm just going to smoke out that wing a little bit with this metallic. I would describe this metallic to be a little bit more satin-like rather than it being very foiled, so it does add a little bit of sheen to the eyes. But this, you guys, is the second look completed. Of course, inspired by Minnie from (G)I-DLE. I love how this look turned out, especially with the lighter contacts. It just looks super grungy with the darker shadows around it, and you can't go wrong with a good old smoky eye. So I love how this look turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. Finally, onto the last look. I'm starting off with the shade Bella. This is going to go at the inner third of my eyes, and I'm just going to use circular motions to get this blended out. You can see that this just diffuses out on its own. It's very easy to blend. So these eye looks are very quick because these shadows don't need much blending. I'm then going to move on to the shade Almond Eyes, and I'm going to focus this at the outer third of my eyes. And just using, again, circular motions. I do find that Almond Eyes, it does look a little bit patchy, so I would recommend just taking a little bit on your brush. I think I just took too much on my brush. So just focusing that at the outer corner, and then I'm also going to take Almond Eyes onto my lower lash line, and I'm just going to sweep that all over. Next, going into the shade Boy Mum, I'm also going to focus this at the outer corners just to deepen out that outer region. This shade is really special. Like, it is so dark. Like, it's a mix of a really dark olive brown. I was actually quite surprised using this shadow and how well it blended, because usually the darker the shadow, the harder it is to blend out, but I had no issues with this one. So I'm also going to take that onto my lower lash line as well, but I'm taking that on more of a defining brush, and I'm just going to press that up against my bottom waterline. And then I'm going to go back into the shade Bella, and I'm just going to run that all over my lower lash line on that fluffy blending brush. I wanted this look to be very grungy, very smoky. So just taking that and blending it at the edges of the olive, it also enhances that peach in the inner third. Then I'll go into the shade Matteo, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this just to get the little sparkles and shimmer. I'm putting that at the center of my eyes where the peach and the olive meet. So we kind of have like more of a soft diffuse. We get a bit of metallic on the eyes, and here we have the final look completed. If I'm being completely honest, this is not my favorite look. I think just the combo of peach and olive, I've never done that before, so I feel a little bit out of place. It's just not like in my comfort zone. Although it's not my favorite, I still hope you guys enjoyed this look and found some inspiration. Alright guys, so those were my 3 looks. Be sure to let me know your favorite down below. I think maybe look 2 because that was a K-pop inspired look, but I really did love look 2. I didn't want to take it off. So let me know your favorite look down below. Let me know what you guys think of the Gemini 2 palette. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you so much, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in my next video. Bye!